Paul, good to hear from you. Listen, things are taking a little longer than expected. I feel good about this one, but I haven't quite brought some of the threads together. It's just an execution hiccup, not a lack of ideas. This is the most complicated book I've ever tried to write, and let's just say I have a newfound respect for guys like Dickens and Joyce who can juggle 10 threads at once without getting lost. I'm figuring some of this stuff out the hard way, I guess you could say. Anyway, the outline I sent you is still good, those are still the beats, those are still the themes I plan to explore. I'll keep you posted, Dan.
I think we've done a good job of putting on happy faces for Tommy. If he knows there's something wrong, he's not showing it. We told him this is just a fun family vacation, and he seems to like it here so far. But this might be it for Dan and me. Neither one of us has said the word yet, but I know it's right there under the surface. We've been dancing around it. I can't even bring myself to write the word here. Writing it would be almost as bad as saying it, because once it's there, it becomes real, a thing we have to deal with. I'm not ready for that yet. We agreed to make this a fresh start. I meant it, I think he did too. Now we just have to treat each day like a new beginning.
Me too.
I promise. It's such a crazy thought, the three of us all alone in this house all summer. I never thought we could afford a place like this, but the price surprised us both when we saw it. I wonder if there's something wrong with it. Maybe it has a raccoon problem or a toilet that backs up. Guess we'll find out soon enough. Oh, and I'm painting again. I got set up today. I felt a buzz right away. So much time to work. I haven't had a space like this in forever, probably since I left the studio. I went straight into a new piece today, got lost, looked up to see it was 2 hours later. I think this new one has promise, though I still have some rust to shake off. Speaking of which, I'm going to go check on Dan and see if his new office is doing anything for him. He's pretty frustrated, but he has to figure something out soon, or this place won't be any different than home.
Are there any other kids? Are there any other kids?
We'll have to find out. It has to.
Do you think coming here will help?
It has to. Tommy rode into town with me today. He saw some kids his age playing on the swings at the park, and I could tell he wanted to go play with them. It got me thinking, did we swing the pendulum too far just to get him away from those bullies? Kids can bounce back quick sometimes. What if this is the worst thing we could have done? Then he asked how Daddy's book was going, and without even thinking, I said, "Great, my man." Felt awful right away. It's a white lie, sure, but why not be honest? When he was younger, he was just a bundle of physical needs, but now he's like a mental, emotional sponge. He's around Linda and me all the time, and I can see him changing every day in 1,000 small ways. That scares the hell out of me. What am I teaching him with a white lie? Writer's block. I can't believe I just wrote that. Writer's block. There, again. Those 2 words are apparently the only damn thing I can write. I don't think it's been this bad since high school. Mr. Holder's class, an essay about Faulkner. Dan Kaplan, little-known author of Tramer's Way and Windsong, has run out of steam. Closed my eyes last night and saw a literary register article about myself. That was the first line. Paul wants 3 chapters next week, and so far I've got 2,000 words so sloppy I can barely read them. I cannot blow my schedule. Paul said Grofield's been very clear about what comes next if I keep slipping deadlines. Why did this happen as soon as we got here? This was supposed to simplify things, but so far it's been nothing but staring at a blank page. Maybe a walk will help, or a long drive, or a drink.
Want to grab a bite later?
Yeah, we could do that.
Barb, how are things? Is school still taking up all of your time, or is anything new going on? We've been up here for a week or so, and I can already tell it's going to be great for painting. There are hardly any distractions, and this house has a room they called the conservatory in the brochure, which really just means it has a lot of windows. Whatever they call it, it's a great space for working. The second floor blocks most of the northern light, but I'll manage. I took Tommy down to the beach today, and you should have seen how excited he was. I wish I'd brought my camera. He kept looking back up at the house like he couldn't believe it was so small from down there. He seems to have taken to this place really well so far, which is such a load off our minds. We didn't know what to expect, but so far, so good. Anyway, let me know how things are going. Yours, Linda.
Can't beat me.
It's just... I called the co-op today. It isn't wildly expensive, but it sure doesn't fit into the budget. It was a bigger letdown than I thought, not being able to just sign up on the spot. It gets so lonely here sometimes. And I think Tommy's starting to feel it too. We try to play with him every day, and the woods here are pretty magical for someone his age. But kids need to be around other kids sometimes. He can only play with his cars so often. Sometimes I wish there were actual neighbors here. The only friend he's made is Davy, but seeing them at the park once in a while isn't the same as having someone to pal around with every day. It's summer vacation, and he's pretty much all alone.
Is there something out there?
The entire world's out there. I knew we should have eaten something with that wine last night. My head is killing me. It was totally worth it, though. We put on some music and hung out on the couch, all cuddled up like we were freshmen again. He didn't talk about his book once. We got a little too into a discussion about whose favorite band from college was still the best, and we accidentally woke Tommy up. We got him settled back down and decided to call it a night, too. Well, except for... I better not write about that part.
I already played with it.
What about your rocket?
It's just so monotonous.
Just mailed the package to Paul, and I might have dodged the bullet. I was most of the way through writing some pretty embarrassing stuff. Alice eavesdropping on a phone call, to give one particularly ugly example, when I decided to look for my notebook one more time. Maybe it was desperation, but something just told me to try it. I lucked out and found it this time and almost sprinted back to the office to see how much I could repair. I didn't have time to rework it all, but I sent Paul a good outline with the chapters I did have. I hope it works. And when I finish my book in December,
Don't joke like that.
Nicely done, honey. Really? Cool.
I only met Rick once, at a family reunion that must have been, 15 years ago? Turns out he made his fortune by, get this, selling high-end pipes. The Sherlock Holmes kind, not the plumbing kind. He must have been a hell of an interesting guy. I mean, he found a niche and made his way in the world. You have to respect that. It makes me wonder, am I giving everything I have to this book, or am I leaving myself an out? It isn't announced yet. I could always pull the plug. I'd never get another advance again, sure, but there isn't a gun to my head. Unless I put one there. Metaphorically, of course.
Hey, check out this one.
Anne, I'm going to cut right through the pleasantries and ask you, who is this Ryan that Mom mentioned on the phone? Someone new? Are you trying to keep it a secret, or did it just slip your mind the last time we talked? Spill it! Things here are moving along, I guess. When we came up, I thought it would be great to have more dedicated time to paint, but I didn't realize it would be so isolating. I miss having more people around and having new ideas floating about. I got lucky in town last week, though. I found an artist co-op called Makeshift, and it seems really interesting. It's not too big, but there are lots of different types of artists there. I'll probably call and try to get more details. I don't remember if I told you this, but I've been thinking about going back to painting full time. Anyway, enough about me. Tell me what's up with you. Love, Linda.
Look at this one, Mommy.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, my man.
Barb, sorry it's been so long since I've written. Things have been hectic around here, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get things back on track. I don't really want to get into it, but we're getting pulled in a lot of different directions right now. Nothing hurtful, just competing priorities, I guess. Although those can get worse and worse over time. I mean, Dan and I, before we got up here, we'd started to drift. Look at that. I said I didn't want to get into it, and I did anyway. Enough about me. Please tell me you're doing well, and I hope this doesn't stress you out too much. I promise to write a happier letter soon. Yours always, Linda. We barely talked yesterday.
Wow, you're right. I guess we've just been so busy.
Stared at a blank canvas again today. Got a few strokes in, but I don't like any of them, and I'll probably paint over them tomorrow. It's so frustrating going into that room every day and trying to keep working. It's easy to get out of the house for errands or go for a hike, but none of that helps the work as much as being around other artists. I'm not going to give up. Maybe I can use this feeling in my new piece. Definitely. I'll try that out tomorrow.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, my man. Just got back from town with the latest issue. Flipped to the back and there it was, my book in the up next column. Stared at it for 5 minutes. Feeling in my stomach was not pleasant. But now it's out there. It's terrifying and irreversible. Maybe I should have placed a full ad. But even like this, the book is out there. Thousands of people are going to read that list. To them, the book is exactly what they want it to be. Some finished, beautiful thing. If only they could see it right now. A bunch of jigsaw pieces on the floor. And I've got to put them all together. Fast. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snapped. I just...
Whoa.
Will it make me smarter?
Honey, listen to me. You are smart. Dan and I had a good conversation today. Well, we'll have to wait and see if it was actually good, but I feel like I got my point across about family time. We've been getting a little frayed on the little things lately, and it reminded me of something Anne said one time. Love is a behavior, not an emotion. If something's important to you, you show it with your actions. We weren't doing so well with that before we got here. I told Dan my idea. I want us all to eat together at 7 every night, with family time after that. Tommy's wiped out by 8:30, so we'd get a solid hour and a half as a family, and then Dan and I could have the rest of the night to ourselves. And I think 7's a reasonable request. The rest of the working world knocks off at 5, right? It doesn't really matter what we do with the time, just that we spend it together. It's easy to make excuses when you've got a lot going on, which is why patterns help. I hope he feels the same way.
Blast off!
It'll be fun. Hey.
Hey. Alan, this letter might come from out of the blue, but do you remember when you told me about Bobby falling behind on reading? Looks like we're there with Tommy. We knew he was struggling when we came up here, but his teacher gave us a list of books for him to work on over the break and said we should see how he responded to the change in environment. She gave us a few sample readings and told us to keep an eye on how he was grasping the concepts. Tommy still isn't there, and long story short, the pediatrician in town knows a specialist who gave us some exercises to try. They seem pretty straightforward, but I wanted to write and see if you had any tips that helped you guys with Bobby. Damn, just realized I didn't even ask how you've been. I'm sorry. This stuff is just a lot to think about. Dan. What's this? time. Time. This would all be easier if I didn't ever have to sleep. Last night after Linda went to bed, I spent some time, there's that word again, trying to make everything fit. I even drew up a little chart. The math is simple. It doesn't work. Technically, I could still get in 8 hours, assuming I don't eat or need to do anything that's not writing. But what about letters, reading, dealing with Paul? Hell, what about doing the dishes or taking out the trash? Not to mention that knocking off for the day isn't like flipping off a switch. It takes time to crawl out of my head and start functioning like a normal person again. And I can't just split it up into smaller chunks. Sometimes it takes an hour of false starts just to get going on anything usable, and stopping just sends the whole process right back to square one. Something's got to give.
Gotta say one more time.